For today's episode of, it's going to be the Agree to Disagree show today with special guest Mike Bara. We're going to be remembering the career of Erich von Däniken. And then when Mike leaves us, we're going to discuss this man. A bit of a mentor to me in the podcast space. He is gone. As we were doing show prep for today's program, news of his passing was released. So I'd like to lead you all in the simultaneous sip. It's the highlight of human civilization, and all you have to do is get a cup, a mug, or a glass, a tankard, chalice, or stein, a canteen, jug, or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now in the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip. And it happens now. So let's get into the program and welcome our guest. On this day of heavy hearts, Erich von Däniken was a legend in the ancient aliens community. Mike's going to tell us all about that. And yeah, Scott Adams has been a daily part of my life for years now. Cheers to you, buddy. Let's launch the show.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
Thank you all very much for being here today. Let me welcome in Mr. Mike Bara to the program.
Good morning, Brian. How you doing?
Well, you know, when mentors leave, you have days like this. And Erich von Däniken, you and I, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, Mike and I, we co-host Strictly Football. We're on season 2, episode 25. Check it out. Subscribe. Mike and I cover the news so much, and it makes you just want to bang your head up against a wall. And at least just give me maybe, a little bit of time to just have a sports conversation that doesn't get too heavy.
Yeah.
But Mike, you also do all these other shows and the whole ancient aliens community. You can go back to Zachariah Sitchin. You can go to Erich von Däniken. There's a couple of air quote modern founding fathers. And, I don't know if the passing of Erich hit you as hard as Scott Adams passing this morning hit me. But I wanted to bring you in here you and I we're overdue for you to come on Agree to Disagree. You've been gracious enough to invite me as a guest host to jump on Toxically Masculine Tuesday.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So, thanks for coming on this program for the first time. First of probably many, because over the past couple of years, I'm going, God, I got to book Mike about this. What's going on with this sonic weapon in Venezuela? What's going on with the extraterrestrial, the space race? I get all these questions, and I'm like, I'll get to Mike when I get to Mike, but thank you for making today the day. How did the passing of Erich von Däniken hit you personally?
Well, it didn't hit me personally that hard because I didn't know him that well. But when you talk about, the giants of ancient astronaut theory and stuff like that, you definitely have Erich was the first, he was the pioneer, and then you have Zachariah Sitchin, who you mentioned, and Richard C. Hoagland, who was my personal mentor. So if it was Richard that had passed along, it would be a different, feeling emotionally. But I knew Erich pretty well and came to know him. And as I made my space, thanks to Richard, in the ancient astronaut community. Erich was an instant friend, an instant inspiration, a guy who had a few little quirks, but absolutely was enthusiastic. Was made out by people like Carl Sagan, low life people like him, to be a grifter, which he never was. He was a curious man, smart man, wrote so many great books, and especially Chariots of the Gods being the main one, and did his documentaries and just forged the way to ask these questions. And all the guy ever did that ever messed or should have made anybody mad at him is he asked questions they didn't want to have to answer. And so he was a wonderful guy to hang out with. There's some memories, because this is a guy I grow up in the 1970s, and I'm like, oh, this is the brilliant guy. I'd love to talk to him, right? And here I am on stage with him on panels, on equal footing, and talking about my stuff versus his stuff and how it comes together. I got a cat hair on there, and
Welcome to the club. I'm in the cat hair club.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know how it is with the cats, and I'm just like, wow, how did I get here? It's kind of a dream come true thing, and then the times in the green room and after the conference were sitting around the bar, and he always wore that blue blazer, right? Unless he didn't wear a blazer, but if he wore one, it was the blue one. It was very distinctive. It was his look. It looked great on him. He drank 3 bottles of wine a night. That's maybe how he lived to be 90 years old. Very
3
healthy.
bottles of wine a night?
3 bottles of red wine a night. We would sit in the bar, and he's, hey, Eric, how's it going? I'm coming into the bar at Alien Con or something, and he's halfway through his first bottle, and he drinks, and he pours, and he drinks, and he pours, and then there's another one, and then there's another one, just every single time, and never seemed to be buzzed. That's the amazing thing. Never seemed to get a buzz of any kind. But it kept him healthy, kept him happy, robust, and, it's one of those things where you want to feel bad, but on the other hand, he lived 90 very productive years. And maybe in the future with modern technology, maybe those guys that are 90 now are going to be 120 or 130 once we break out all of this medical technology that I know exists, right? And we'll have people like Erich longer. But he just absolutely was a wonderful guy. I remember I'm on stage at Contact in the Desert in 2017 or 2018, and I'm getting ready for my presentation, and I'm got my focus on this, and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Bara," and I turn around, and there's the little Swiss guy, and it's Erich, right? And he says, "Are you going to talk about Ceres today?" Ceres being the dwarf planet in the asteroid belt. And I said, "Well, Erich, I am absolutely going to talk about Ceres, and we're going to go." So to have a guy like this who was a giant of the community, know my work, appreciate my work, respect my work, and be respectful toward me, couldn't have been a better human being. Couldn't have been a better human being. And anytime you lose anyone like that, regardless of what they produced in their life, and he produced plenty, it's the human qualities of the man that the world is missing today. It's not his work. That work lives on forever. It's the humanness that he brought to the world. And I got to be honest, I never, ever heard anybody who ever met him say a bad word about him, which is more than you can say for me. But that to me, that's the most important accounting of a man.
Yeah, it's not a bad word. It was just like the time I met Bono, and it was one of the weirdest experiences of my life.
Oh, you met Bono? I didn't know that. Yeah.
At a concert, and I'm like, just wanted to say hi. On those morning shows where they say, if you were born today, you share a birthday with, and they rattle off these famous people.
Right.
I said, you're born on the same day as me. He goes, 1960? I go, no, just the birthday.
Yeah, May 28th or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he goes, 1960. I go, no, not the year, but the date. And I just wanted to say 1960. I'm like, okay, I don't know what we're missing here, but it was nice meeting you. 1960. When I met Erich von Däniken, it was probably 2016, 17, 18, Contact in the Desert. I had ended up with my friend Nick, and Giorgio was over here, and Erich was over in a condo or townhouse. Like, you kind of walked through a thing, and then it was like a seating area, then he was there. And we were just chopping it up, hanging out, and he came out, he goes, who are you with? I'm like, oh, I'm with the New American Media. He's like, who? I go, the New American Media. I'm here with the New American Media. He goes, who? I said, well, we started a few years ago, and we go to these conventions. We get good interviews with people to kind of get more people interested in their work. He's like, no, who? Who are you here with? Who are you here with? I go, oh, Nick. He goes, oh, okay. Like, I don't know if I got it at the end of a day or a confused day, or I'm like,
well, you do get
like, no, who are you here with?
Yeah, in our little tiny celebrity world of ufology, you get hangers on, and you all of a sudden there's this guy hanging around, and you're like, I thought he was your friend. No, he thought he was your friend. No. And suddenly you've got somebody, and you have to be a little careful because some of them are creeps, and some of them are trying to catch you saying, like, making a racial joke or something, so they can tell everybody, "Ooh, I heard Erich von Däniken say something about black people. He must be a Nazi." So you got to be careful. But yeah, that's
and people make up stories on top of it. It's like you could never tell either way. But yeah, that was my lone interaction with him. Yeah, it was very brief, and it was just funny to me that I kept trying to explain what the New American Media was. He goes, no, who, not the outlet, who at the table. I go, oh, this guy. Goes, oh, okay, he's good. I'm
even in his older years, he still had a little bit of a language issue. Every so often, we'd be on a panel, and he'd be saying something, and he'd turn to Giorgio and go, something in Swiss. How do I say that? And then Giorgio would tell him, and then he would say it. So,
no, it's absolutely one of the best perks, and probably maybe one of the biggest reasons why, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, one of my favorite things about doing the New American Media for 15 years now, it's just having interesting conversations with interesting people and throwing ideas out there and seeing, I don't know, just chopping it up, spending a whole evening hanging out with really intelligent, interesting, funny people.
Yeah.
Like that's the point. That's the point of life. And may we be lucky enough to get 90 great years,
Yeah. So just for people the place to start with Erich von Däniken, if you don't know who he is the book Chariots of the Gods and his first documentary In Search of Ancient Astronauts. So get over and read those and watch that documentary. They are a couple of amazing pieces of work where he's just the guy who started asking questions. Well, who built these pyramids? Who built this over here? How do they know how to do this? And I would highly recommend you read that book and you watch that documentary. And there of course were a million others made later, but including the Ancient Aliens episode that I did honoring Erich. I think there was a couple, but it's certainly in the first one. And I remember after the first one, we were at Alien Con, and he's Mr. Bara. And Mr. Bara, he's 30 years older than me, and he's calling me Mr. Bara, right? And I really appreciate what you said about me on that show. And I said, well, Erich, I meant every bit of it, and you're a special guy. So if you gotta leave this earth, maybe before you want to, that's the way to leave it, is having made a huge impact, and he did.
I don't know if everybody feels that way. What percentage of people on Earth, Mike, would you guess, care about leaving a legacy, an impact? Scott Adams, his message today was to be useful. He's like, I tried to be as useful as possible, and nobody worked every single day at 10 a.m. Like he was there, like through his whole sickness, everything. What percentage of people do you think are trying to be useful, trying to create something that lives on past them, a legacy? 5%?
5% of us have that vision, and the rest of the guys are just trying to get by and just trying to do as well as they can and die with the most toys. The rest of them. So, yeah, 5%.
So which group is why are we in the 5%? What? How are we wired differently? What makes us different, I guess?
Because the truth is not out there. The truth is not getting out there, and you and I care about getting people to the truth, and that's important. So that's why. That's where it is.
Interesting. Mike, I know you had an appointment today. Do you have a heart out? Like, what time are we just doing a quick hit? Do you want to stick around for a while?
I'd like to get out of here in about the next 15 minutes. I got a couple things to do. It's a busy day. My week is insane. I did something yesterday which was super cool, but you're not going to see for a couple weeks. But
you did tell me. I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah, and it's but it couldn't have been cooler. And nice. And then so now I'm catching up on. I can't remember the last time I cleaned the cat box. I got all these things I got to go do. So yeah,
my cat usually reminds me when I need to do that. But no, you were talking about the whole Ancient Aliens arc. For the people that maybe only know you from Strictly Football, or they've never had a chance to sit down with you. can you give people a quick overview of what got you to this point today? I mean, the whole technology side, and then digging into the books and the speaking.
Well, I was an aerospace engineer, working a day job, married, miserable like most married men, and just cruising along through life. And I had always had this interest in UFOs and aliens. Documentaries like In Search of Ancient Astronauts when I was 12 years old excited me, but I didn't have a way in. And then there was this guy who started working with Richard C. Hoagland on the moon, and he had a lot of pictures taken from the surface of the moon, and there were things in those pictures that shouldn't have been there, and he didn't know that, but Hoagie knew it, and they connected, and there was like a message board that he used to have back on, this is 96, right, when the internet first started, and I'm in there one day, and Ken Johnston is his name, he's still my friend, and we were exchanging information, and he said, "Hey, Mike, my wife Fran thinks she knows you. She thinks she worked with you back in '91 at Boeing." And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember Fran." And so he was married to somebody I'd worked with, so I became friends with Ken. We were both living in the Seattle area at the time. And then Ken introduced me to Richard, and I wrote an article for Richard's website. Said, "Hey, you want a spec article? What do you think about this?" And we totally connected and hit it off in terms of research and stuff. And so then I started writing for his website. And then I started... we eventually turned that into a book, took all these web articles and put them into a book called Dark Mission, Secret History of NASA, which was very successful. And I started getting invited to speak at a conference here and there. And next thing you know, I'm hanging out with Giorgio in the bar before anybody knows who he is. And we're like, getting drunk and having a good time. And I put him into a documentary that we did about 2010. And then he got Ancient Aliens going. Season 2, they needed to expand the cast. He threw my name in the pile, and here I am. So that's
Nice.
how I got here.
I was having a conversation with somebody. But real quick, did you ever listen to Scott Adams? Did you ever follow his work at all?
Well, I don't want to trample on your mentor. And
No,
he's just passed away. He's just passed away. But I didn't pay much attention to Scott. Mm-hmm. Once he came out in favor of the vaccines, I felt like he was kind of... I feel like he should still be with us. There are protocols. There are protocols.
Scott has... Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's protocols using ivermectin and fenben and ivermectin and menben. There's 6 or 8 different combinations. And I know a doctor in Canada desperately tried to help him. And Scott refused. Scott just basically said, "You're a dumbass. You don't know." I mean, it's almost as though his arrogance in thinking that his doctors knew better than this other doctor that was trying this revolutionary treatment. He went with conventional medicine, and now he's gone, and he should not be gone. He had many things to contribute to this world, but he chose not to try things, and I mean. I don't understand that.
And he did, he wrestled with the concept of the jab, and I believe he ended up taking it.
He did, and then he gets.
And then he put out a video saying you were right.
Yeah, he did, but he didn't try the alternative therapies that were available to him, and it's like, and so in a sense,
I will say he addressed that to one degree where he's like. I am being absolutely bombarded with 1,000 different ideas right now, and I appreciate all of your love, but it does get confusing. Like I can't.
It does, but this guy is extremely well known. He was working with him. It's a 6
President Trump was working with him too.
It's a 6-month protocol, and Scott gave up on it after 5 or 6 weeks, and didn't try the other protocols because there's a whole bunch of and it's like so. Scott is a very difficult. Thing for me to get my head around because he should still be here. If he had tried these other therapies, and we talk about them on the show on Toxically Masculine a lot, Brooks Agnew, ivermectin, fenben, menben, they appear to work in almost every case. And
I think he was on with Gutfeld. Gutfeld and Dr. Drew jumped on a couple days ago. And I think what I heard Scott say, and if I'm misremembering, but I think he said, I did try the ivermectin. I did do these courses and they didn't work.
He didn't try it. He did not try it. He did not follow the protocol. He did not do it the way the doctor recommended. and he did not stick with it the way you're supposed to, and he did not, like I said, there's 6 different alternative therapy paths. He tried one and then he quit. And I just feel like he kept going back to, he believed in the real doctors, what he called the real doctors, as opposed to the alternative doctors. And Brian, this is important, and the only reason I bring it up on the day of his passing is because it's important, because the pharma whores, they are trying to keep us in treatments that don't work. There is no money in cures. The only money is in sickness and treatment, right? And so I think he's an important example, and he needs. I just wish he would have given the man a fair chance to save his life, and I think he could have, because everybody I know that has tried those protocols, it works 100% of the time. And I don't know everybody, but it's just, so to me there's this, it's a tragedy, not that Scott is gone. It's a tragedy that he didn't try everything that he could have tried to get healthy.
Well, on his final way out, he left a message, and he was wrestling with the concept of God. He was invited by many Christians to convert and come over and save his soul and see you on the other side, kind of thing. And he sort of addressed that, and Ancient Aliens, I think, addresses that. So I guess we only have you for a couple more minutes.
Well, yeah, that was great.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just that was great, and we know he had doubts, but he's in a good spot. He's probably looking back and going, yeah, geez, what he had was an amazing life. It could have gone on for another 20, 30, 40 years. It could have, and it's just a shame. It's a shame.
Well, the couple of concepts that I've had here, we'll make this the last one. We'll let you get back to the tasks of the day. But
yeah.
And we'll keep you posted as soon as we can sync all of our 4 schedules. We'll come out with Strictly Football.
Yeah, it may still be today, Brian, but it would have to be like 2 p.m. Pacific or something. It would work. 5 Eastern, maybe we'll work that out. Yeah.
You shoot me a text as soon as you have a window, and we'll see if that works for the group.
Right.
But as Scott wrestled with God, and I recently had a conversation with somebody about obviously a lot of people turning to Christ and going back to Jesus and trying to understand the Bible after Charlie Kirk. Scott Adams wrestling with it, and I had a conversation with someone about, well, why would you be Christian? Why would you go back to that? And Jesus was he even real, or why is it's an oppressive system to hold people down? God is within you. Just the Ancient Aliens concept in general of beings from the heavens descending in chariots of fire, being the gods, lowercase g or big G. Just however you want to take it, is wherever you want to go with it. Your thoughts on God, Christianity, Ancient Aliens. Does one necessarily disprove the other, or in a way, do they increase and further solidify their existence?
They solidify their existence. It's really interesting because this came up exactly in the thing I was doing yesterday that I can't talk about right now. This came up exactly. And what I said, my philosophy is that, the universe exists in balance, right? There's a balance. There's the light side of the force, and there's the dark side of the force, right? Call them that. Or what I would call the Christ consciousness and the satanic consciousness. They are at war, and they're constantly, Earth is in the middle, and we keep doing this, right? And we've been way over on the satanic side, and now we're coming back to the Christ consciousness side of it.
Like the Overton window, kind of like the 10-yard marker in football. It's the Overton window. You just been. I feel like we've been up at the 1-yard line. We've been pushed our backs up against the end zone for a while now.
Yeah, and now
maybe we're making some advance.
Yeah. So and Scott connected to the Christ consciousness at the end. It's clear from his statements, and that means where he goes now, where he lives before he comes back again, and I'm sure he'll be back again in some other form. He's in that happy place. He's in that positive place, and he's going to bring light to the world. Everybody makes mistakes. We all make mistakes in life. We all do good things in life, but he's going to learn from the good things and from the bad things. But it looks, he made a choice before the end to step into the Christ side, which is where the beauty is, where the love is. And he'll be back to spread that again in another lifetime. And it'll be fun and exciting. And the fact that we lived in the same time as him and had our own interactions or whatever, we're influencing, we will be working with him. And so the universe got a little bit better,
Yeah,
the universe that God created got a little bit better with him here.
Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of how humanity works. You light a torch, and someone has to take it and go do stuff, and then you pick up
Yeah.
We all have a role to play.
And the thing is that, I believe there's lots of other species of beings out there, and their existence does not minimize our existence. And again, it seems like it's the most interesting planet in the solar system. Why? Or maybe in the galaxy, maybe in the universe. Why? Because we were made in God's own image. And I'm not sure all these other species were truly made in his image. And why are all these alien races here? Why have they been here experimenting? Why are they trying to interfere? Because they need something from us. Because we're better than them. Because we're God's chosen people. We are. We're his special pets. And if we can pull this off, if we can turn this planet and all its inhabitants to the dark light side of the Force, to the Christ side of the Force, we're gonna spread everything. We're gonna make everything better. And I really, the only thing I don't know, because this is the kind of thing you don't know until you're there, next level or even higher up. Is this a battle where we eventually fill everything with the good, or does God only care about there being a balance? I don't know. I don't know what God's plan is, but it's all connected and we're all part of it. And, I'm sure you and I have been colleagues, or we're not in conflict. So we've been colleagues in lifetimes before. I'm sure we got many more to come.
Heck yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm going to go down here and fight this war on Mars. I want Engelman. Where's Engelman? Yeah, go get him. Let's go. You want to join the club? So, I mean, that's more deeply philosophical than I wanted to get, but we're talking about the deaths of two very important men here in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and it's thinkers that taught us how to think, to ask difficult questions, to speak truth to power, to reframe your brain, to fail at almost everything and still win bigly. I mean, just it's the whole human condition, trying to leave things better than the way you found it. Exactly. And trying to take away some of the pain and suffering, the unnecessary.
When you do that, the universe the whole universe is just a little bit better than it was when you got here because of you. That's what we're here for.
Nice. And that is the spark of the Christ consciousness, indeed. So rest in peace, Erich von Däniken and Scott Adams. Mike, you can be found on Twitter, X, at Mike Bara 333.
Yep.
And you have the shows Toxically Masculine Tuesdays, Strictly Football, Jen's...
and Real News Live with Mike and Jen.
Real News Live with Mike and Jen.
Toxically Masculine Tuesday. It'll be at 9 Eastern tonight. We'll be covering Scott Adams. We'll be talking about the things you just brought up. And I'd like to have you on as part of the team, but the problem is I already got 3. There's like 4 of us, and there just isn't enough time. But on special nights, election night, like we did in 2024, that was fantastic having you on there. So we'll do it again, and you're certainly at a minimum an honorary part of the crew. So.
I'm like the Alvaro Espinoza. I'm on the bench, but I can play shortstop or second base, or I can fill in.
You're the utility infielder, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you play the Steve Doran role, the Blake Wally role, or the Brooks Agnew role? It's your choice.
Yeah, but they do call it the most the best roundtable on the internet, with the most interesting roundtable on the. How is it phrased exactly?
Yeah, the most interesting roundtable on the internet, or the best roundtable on the internet.
Yeah, I've heard it said multiple ways, but
yeah, and people don't know we exist. We only get a few. You don't even get 1,000 views, but we bring it every freaking Tuesday night. And I figure if we just keep doing it the right way, sooner or later we're going to find an audience. And that's not why we do it. I just do it because I want people to know what the hell's really going on in Iran. What is the real motivation? That's what the show's about.
Yeah, and I think back to the days of playing music. We would go play a show, and maybe you would be the headliner. Then you would do a show, and we'd be on our turf, and you'd open for us. And we just keep playing shows with other people. That's what doing these shows virtually are. We're putting on a concert. Like we're combining energy on stage that day. A couple of bands get together and play. You chop it up, and you try to invite cool audience members to go to each other's shows and check out, subscribe to them, and You
There
know,
you go.
I tried to tell Erich von Däniken, well, that's what we do at the New American Meeting. No, not who. Who are you with?
Yeah.
There
Are
we
you
go.
with
Okay.
Ramon? Are you with Giorgio? Yeah, I can see him doing that. All
All
right.
right. Well, Mike, take it
Let's
easy.
aim
Send me a
for
text. Let me know about Strictly Football, and we will announce
5
it.
Eastern. I should be free by 5 Eastern. So if you want to do it then.
5 Eastern today?
Today, I'd be free.
Okay. We will sort that out in the text. I'll check with the other
All right.
guys.
All right.
Mike, thank you. You have a great rest of your day, sir.
Thank you.
There we go. It was Mike Bara. Everybody, make sure you follow him, Mike Bara 333 on Twitter X, as well as all of the other locations, especially on Rumble. Rumble being the YouTube alternative. Whoo, what a show. What a show it has been. Haven't even looked at the chat. Yes, you did not get an ad because I forgot to click the button. But I did now, so please hit refresh. Hello to Marion Cook, Trash Panda, Texas. Howdy. Lake Leon. Marion go, whoa, 3 bottles in a night. I can only do 1 bottle on occasion. Yeah, 3 bottles of wine. I mean, bottle of red, bottle of white, etc., etc. David Ban checking in from Ontario. Thanks for being here. Yes. Lake Leon, I'm my own doctor. I don't listen to them anymore. How could any of us? How in the world could we? After all the lies. And Amy Acton is who the Democrats put up, the lockdown queen of Ohio. They're trying to run her as governor against Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, like Mike was saying, is there ever a time when like good and evil, when you finish? Like, do you ever conquer? Like, do you ever? I want to make sure I'm rephrasing and articulating his point accurately, but will it always be a struggle, or is we score the touchdown, we win the Super Bowl, we are the champions? Well, I think what we were talking about is that you have to have the right questions answered in order to get close to something like that. And Erich von Däniken was someone who asked questions that were difficult for a lot of people to answer. Some questions may be unanswerable. Some questions might be, objective or subjective. Best Baskin-Robbins flavor. It's clearly Superman. Unless it's not. How could you pass on a great rocky road, of course? So there are some things that are subjective, and then there are other things that are just fact. And I've been having conversations about God. I interviewed Ian Punnett, rest in peace, one of the Coast to Coast AM guys. Mike jumps on for a science segment with George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM, quasi-regularly, I believe. Ian wrote a book called How to Pray When You're Angry with God. And I love that title. It's one of the best titles to a book that I've ever heard. And these conversations about God and Christ and people that grew up in the church and left the church, used to believe, no longer believe, sort of convinced God doesn't matter, God isn't real, or that Christianity isn't worth this or that, or it's just a tool for oppression and censorship and control. I mean, maybe, kind of, sort of, in some ways. But if you take from that, it's just like, hey, don't steal stuff, don't covet stuff, don't, don't hurt people, don't do these things. Like, these are great tenets. Tenets? It's tenet, right? T-E-N-N-E-T? T-E-N-E-T? Not tenant, like a resident. But does God matter? Does the concept of ancient aliens descending from the sky in chariots of fire, does that minimize the Christ consciousness, the ethos, the core concept at the center of Christianity? Does it turn into God is inside of you, like you are capable of everything? You know, there's spiritual, philosophical conversations, opinion, interpretation of ancient texts. So a lot of people are looking at that. I want to read Scott Adams in a second. He left a couple message. Yeah, med beds. A lot of people talking about med beds. Why wouldn't Scott get access to the med beds? I mean, President Trump was right there with him, did anything he could do, and he was working to try to help, and they tried some experimental stuff. I don't know. I mean, end of the day, we all wish there was more that could have been done. My God, that is the cornerstone of my grief with how our healthcare system failed my brother. Biden made it difficult to get monoclonal antibodies. That was unnecessary. That didn't need to happen, and the doctors were confused on where to get things or if they were allowed to do certain things. The federal government shouldn't be getting involved in that. You can offer recommendations, and that's it. Like these one-size-fits-all approaches where people are not getting help. There's, like Mike said, there's no money in the cure. We sort of have to crowdsource the best thing for our situation. And it can be confusing. But when you're intentionally taking options off the table, like monoclonal antibodies, like ivermectin, demonized to the point where instead of being prescribed perhaps a proper 60 milligram dose, it was 1/5 of that. So even if you did have something that might have had an opportunity to help, might have, who knows? It was prescribed at such a small dose. It was like brewing a pot of coffee by dropping a pinch of coffee grounds into it. It's not enough. And that was because of a lot of pressure from the deep state Democrats, from Joe Biden and the regime that seized control of this country in 2020. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks if people could have been helped. But for me, I always felt like Ancient Aliens was one of those theories that could connect the Bible to current politics, to past civilizations, the true history, and what do you call it? Breadth. That's such a tough word. Width, breadth, with breath. You have to go silent on it. But yeah, Scott was definitely asked by a lot of people about considering coming over and joining Christianity and Christ and whatnot. And yeah, I've had a lot of religious conversations lately. And well, one of the retorts was, well, if you believe that stuff, the chariots in the sky, like, doesn't that disprove Christianity? And for me, I would always say, no. No, if anything, it sort of strengthens that. What is our true history? And it's fair to ask that. In fact, while we just run around on the rat race, on the rat wheel, on the hamster wheel, we're trying to make sense of our lives, what's important. And the thing I liked, I'm just bouncing back between Erich von Däniken and Scott Adams right now, but they both asked questions. They both kept digging. They both kept searching and looking and asking and trying to reframe things. Well, what about this? Or could it be that? Or I wonder if we tried that. Just a lot of getting to know somebody's brain. I mean, if you can't believe some of these nonsensical stories from the Bible, as you would say, angels and Ezekiel's wheel, and what is all this stuff? Well, if the ancient alien story bears out and it's able to kind of, I don't know, become proven, accepted, understood to be accurate. I don't know, because it's not really favorite ice cream. It's just did it or did it not. None of us were there, so we don't know, but we're doing the best we can to try to figure out what we know. Yeah, just two thinkers are gone. And for years, just during COVID and, you know, a lot of tough days, tough times. And yeah, I mean, you have to bury your mom at the beginning of COVID, your brother at the end of COVID. You know, I can just remember distinctly, and like as this thing is ravaging through the globe out of the Wuhan coronavirus laboratory, what's it called? What did Jon Stewart, what's his bit about chocolatey goodness in Hershey, Pennsylvania? The Wuhan Institute of Virology, and they just keep telling you it's from a wet market. I'm like, you couldn't possibly know that. You're trying too hard. You're covering something up. And they were indeed covering something up. So yeah. Legend lost. A lot of days out there pushing the mower in the heat, mid-90s, listening to Scott Adams, trying to make sense of the world, trying to make sense of what people are trying to convince me of, trying to make sense of public policy. And yeah, that's just been a show that has made me a better thinker. It was one of the regular things that I would study, because I know he had taken a lot of time to study some of the other best interesting minds, Scott Adams, and bring it all together. I think bouncing back to Erich von Däniken, I feel like that ancient aliens concept brought a lot of people, researchers, investigation, interest. It brought it together. You know. So yeah, what a day. David says, how about give us the truth and let us discern what we think it all means? What a novel concept, right? I agree. Question, what are angels? Do we really know? Well, my name, Engelman, is Angel Man. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, I'm an angel, man. What if what we are thinking are angels are really celestial beings working for the Creator? Yeah, the helpers, the messengers, I think they've been. There's many definitions. I was reading an angel book, and just God, along with the angels, according to this thing I was reading, they appreciate feeling appreciated. And you can call out to them. In fact, we probably don't do that as much, either through a personal prayer, turn your Wi-Fi on and shoot a signal out, a bat signal. Did anyone receive that? Ping, 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 ping. SOSs. I mean, how many times have you read stories where people are confronted in a bad situation? They'll scream out the name of Jesus Christ and something miraculous happens. That story. Yeah, let that be known. TNAM preparedness tip of the day. If you're in a spot where you can't think of anything better to do and you need a help and need a hand, and you need help and you need it now, maybe consider yelling out the name Jesus Christ and saying, I need an angel right now. Yeah. Maybe you get moved. Maybe your request goes to the top of the list to somebody that, man, it would be really nice to hit the lottery. We all sort of feel that way. Also, sure would be nice to hit the lottery, dear Lord. Yeah. If you think I'm finally ready to handle that amount of Because that's a responsibility. If you had those types of resources, what would you do with it? Would it all just be hedonism and lavish this and that? Or would it be doing something positive, giving back, making the earth a little bit better place, like Mike was talking about? Scott Adams worked because he didn't need to work. He wanted to work. He liked to work. He wanted to be useful. And he knew that his work was impactful with reframing your brain. He was leaving a positive legacy behind. Mike Bara said maybe 5% of the people care about a legacy. There's a question of the day for the chat room. Please tell me with a percentage. What percentage of humanity cares about leaving a legacy behind? What percentage of humanity cares about leaving a legacy behind? Type it in the comments, please. Question of the day, QOTD. But yeah, I mean, angels are celestial beings working for the Creator. Yeah, that's pretty good explanation there. Where there's darkness, there will be light. Yeah, and without the light, do you even have a shadow? What? And there's that. Yeah, our third eye or pineal gland is God's Wi-Fi. Yeah, the walnut, right? You got the little pine cone, I mean. Well, walnut or pine cone right here. You have to tap it to get it to work. You have to, like a Nintendo video game. You got to, okay, now it'll work. Yeah, I've heard those stories that fluoride, pineal gland. Maybe that's the reason. Question of the day, Marion says maybe 10 to 20%. David Band says very few people probably care about leaving a legacy behind. But Scott didn't need to work. He did it because he wanted to, and he thought that he was, I mean, his role in the 2016 election, the 2020 situation, COVID through the 2024 election, debunking the fine people hoax, really just being a voice for people, marginalized groups, and being a straight white man in America in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. It's the amount of marginalization and discrimination for a variety of reasons. Maybe even playing fields or punish people that didn't do anything wrong. The whole concept. Scott talked about that in a way that sort of made sense to a lot of people. Scott told us about leaving multiple jobs where he says he was told by his direct supervisor, they won't promote you because you're a white man. You've reached a ceiling here. I have a quota to fill, and I cannot advance a white man into these positions. I've been told I need to make X amount of hires, and they have to include demographics that are women, and you don't qualify, or non-white and you don't qualify. I can't do anything and keep my job. You've hit a wall here. I mean, I guess some people could try to say that that's unproven or that didn't happen. I guess if you want to be so bold as to make such an obvious claim, for decades it's been that way. That's been the agreed upon it's been the agreed upon standard. And Scott openly talked about it. And yeah, Scott was one of the first people predicting that President Trump was going to win. I mean, he boldly, vividly spoke these things. I mean, a lot of us were saying similar stuff. I always thought he could win. I guess maybe there was a point that I didn't. I don't know. And the memory is a funny thing sometimes. Trying to bounce backward and remember. And Scott's talked about that as well. He said, people say I'm pro-vax. He's like, I was never pro-vax. People are like, yeah, you were. We listened to it. But he was laying things out, and he was rationalizing and doing the math and having the conversations that we were all having, trying to make sense of what we were being told. just doing it in a very public way. I believe Scott said that people have accused him of being pro-vax. He's like, no, I was not. And then he came out with a video and said to the anti-ones, you guys were right. I was lied to. I was told certain things, and it turns out that some of these things were lies. So the story of Scott Adams is a tale of warning, and it's also a tale of just endless pursuit, relentless pursuit to figure out what's going on. Kenneth switched to fluoride-free toothpaste. How have you been on the cavity department in the fluoride-free toothpaste, Kenneth? All right, let me go over to X. This has been a heck of a day. Oh. Actually, you know what? Let me do a hard reset. I will go through the news, but I think I'm gonna go through it fast. Let's do a reset. Let me get some. I gotta fill my coffee. And I'll do a simultaneous sip. Let's do a hard reset. Thank you to Mike Bara for joining the intro to talk about Erich von Däniken and a couple of notes on Scott Adams today. Follow Mike at Mike Bara 333. All right. Get yourself a mug, a canteen jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. Okay? I'm going to do that. I'll see you in a second.
Your guide to the truth. The new AmericanMedia.com.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Not every day do you shed human tears. Doesn't happen every day. Today was one of those days. All right, so now I would invite all of you in the TNAM Trash Panda universe to join me now for the simultaneous sip. Maybe some of you have never watched the show. Maybe some of you have never watched Scott Adams' program. I shouldn't take a sip while I'm bloviating here. Don't ruin the sip by sipping before you get to the sip. But maybe some of you have never watched Scott Adams' program. So let me explain it to you. This is called the simultaneous sip. I would request that every one of you participate. If you would like to participate, all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tank or chalice or stein, a canteen jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip. And it happens now. Go. Yeah, in the hood media, there's this I don't even know where it started, but you pour your beer out for your homie, you pour a little swig of that OE, that 40 ounce. I mean, I guess it could be anything, really. You know, you just pour. Actually, I did that the day that I met Bono, or a Bono impersonator. I'm still not entirely certain that was really Bono. It was like 80-something% certain. I'm like, I gotta go say something, and it was super weird. That was the night my pet Gizmo passed away. and I didn't know he was that sick, or I probably wouldn't have went to this convention that day. I mean, I did know, but I also had people in town. And I got the message that Gizmo had passed. And I remember taking my beverage and to Gizmo and poured a couple of drops on the floor. Water the ground and for him. So I'm not going to spill some coffee out here on my desk intentionally. I may have done that accidentally once. Yeah, it's a hypnosis technique. And it's a community building technique, the simultaneous sip. I mean, I couldn't possibly take that from him, but I could keep paying it homage. I don't know. So now it's time for some coffee talk. No big whoop. No big whoop. Yes, rest in peace, Gizmo. Oh, what a sweet guy. What a sweet little fluffball. Giz. All right. Whew. Let's unpack the news. Here on X, make sure you're following us. We're at American_media_. Right there. And pinned to the top of this is our Patreon page. You can click there to subscribe to us for like $10 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month. Figure all in. We have some goals to reach 5,000 a month. Going to have to probably get some sponsors along the way. But many of the regulars here at this bar, you tune in, you show up, and you toss a little bit of tip in the tip jar for me, and it is super appreciated, people. Super appreciated. Thank you to everybody who has been a part of helping the New American Media succeed. One of the big ways, if you're a first-time watcher today, this is our Patreon. We have been censored and shadow banned in ways that I won't bore you with, because the regulars here have heard me going on about it enough, but it's real. And this is a great way to support independent journalism here on Patreon at the New American Media. Also, remember that on Rumble, you can subscribe to you can get a monthly donation going. We do have that. Active subscriber is what it's called. Active subscribers. So you can become an active subscriber on Rumble. I was also told that they now have a Bitcoin wallet. Okay, I'm going to set that up. I know a lot of you are crypto folks and got to open up the tip jars wherever you can find them. I'm also probably going to set up a Give, Send, Go fund. I feel like I'm at church, and it's like we have the regular collection plate, but then also here's this special mission for this special collection. This will be for the youth groups to do a thing, or this will be for, the old folks home, or to clean up cemetery tombstones, or, we got to get new carpet in the vestibule or something. But yeah, I think we're going to do a Give, Send, Go / a GoFundMe, one of these things, so that we can have travel funds to maybe pop up to Minneapolis. I mean, you're talking airlines, $500, hotels, $200 a night, car rentals, $50 to $100 a night. You're out of your environment. You got to eat and drink. You got to logistics, Uber, if you're not getting a car. But yeah, I've been sort of feeling the call to go out in an embedded kind of way to report on what's happening across the country. I feel something happening, but yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to get that crypto link set up. I don't know what it is, but I will figure it out. And yeah, we'll get the Give, Send, Go thing going. But yeah, you can be an active subscriber on Rumble, as well as drop a Rumble rant. With the next $5 Rumble rant, we'll be able to make a transfer to the business account. It's like it goes in incremental doses, and every time you reach a number, you can cha-ching, cash it out, and then pay a bill with it. So yeah, feel free to shoot a Rumble rant over. $5 should get us to that mark where we can send one over. YouTube, thank you to all of you who have helped us boost our numbers, boost our views. On YouTube, we have gone 4 or 5 long years without monetization there. Thank you to helping us. Thank you to you who have helped us to reinstitute that function. It's crucial. It's crucial when that Google AdSense deposit drops. You can be an active subscriber on YouTube as well. We have active subscriptions. Please consider signing up there. And you could also do a, what is that called? Super chat. Drop a super chat in there. So, yes, let's carry on our X account where you see us streaming live. Watch the program. All right. So, yes, it's with a heavy heart that we say goodbye to one of the hardest working people in the world of podcasting. Let me read this to you. Can I go side by side? No. Guess that's the best I can get. This is sent from the Scott Adams account. A final message from Scott Adams. Let's see. Let's go. That's fine. If you were reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this, January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know I am free of any coercion or inappropriate influence of any sort, I promise. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I'm not a believer, but I have time to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks attractive. So here I go. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I look forward to spending an eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that, and I hope I am still qualified for entry. With your permission, I'd like to explain something about my life. For the first part of my life, I was focused on making myself a worthy husband and parent as a way to find meaning. That worked, but marriages don't always last forever, and mine eventually ended in a highly amicable way. I'm grateful for those years and the people I came to call my family. Once the marriage unwound, I needed a new focus, a new meaning, and so I donated myself to the world, literally speaking the words out loud in my otherwise silent home. From that point on, I looked for ways I could add the most to people's lives, one way or another. That marked the sort of evolution from Dilbert cartoonist to an author of what I hoped would be useful books. By then, I believed I had amassed enough life lessons that I could start passing them on. I continued making Dilbert comics, of course. By the way, let me jump in and add one particular... It could very well be a Dilbert episode that when I asked Grok for the simultaneous sip, it refused to give it to me. I had to ask 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. I feel like that whole interaction could have been a Dilbert cartoon. Carrying on, continuing on. What Scott has written here as the final message from Scott Adams. As luck would have it, I'm a good writer. My first book is as luck would have it, I'm a good writer. My first book in the useful genre was How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. That book turned out to be a huge success, often imitated and influencing a wide variety of people. I still hear every day how much that book changed lives. My plan to be useful was working. I followed up with my book, Win Bigly. That trained an army of citizens how to be more persuasive, which they correctly saw as a minor superpower. I had a conversation with somebody about that the conservatives are just so much better persuasion. And why is that? You know, there's times to push back and there's times to just listen and let it linger and move on to something else. But I mean, I think part of it is that the arguments are better. The conclusions drawn are usually more common sense, obvious answers. And you don't really bend to peer pressure or trying to, oh, well, you know, you should do it. Just be nice. There are times when you draw the line in the sand, and objective reality is one of those things. But Scott here is saying that he used that book to work with people to train them, an army of citizens, to be more persuasive, which they correctly saw as a minor superpower. I know that book changed lives because I hear it often. You'll probably never know the impact the book had on the world, but I know, and it pleases me while giving me a sense of meaning that is impossible to describe. My next book, Loser Think, tried to teach people how to think better, especially if they were displaying their thinking on social media. That one didn't put much of a dent in the universe, but I tried. Loser Think. Finally, my book, Reframe Your Brain, taught readers how to program their own thoughts to make their personal and professional lives better. I was surprised and delighted at how much positive impact that book is having. I also started podcasting a live show called Coffee with Scott Adams, dedicated to helping people think about the world and their lives in a more productive way. I didn't plan it this way, but it ended up helping lots of lonely people find a community that made them feel less lonely. Again, that had great meaning for me. I had an amazing life. I gave it everything I had. If you got any benefits from my work, I'm asking you to pay it forward as best you can. That's the legacy I want. Be useful. And please know I loved you all to the end. Scott Adams. Yeah, and I appreciate everybody out there in the TNAM community, all you trash pandas, rifling through the rubbish, trying to separate fake news from fact. We've jokingly talked, and maybe not so jokingly talked about me being the teacher of the class. John, I think you made a graphic about that. Was there a graphic where I was the teacher, or was the trash panda the teacher? I forget. Maybe it was both, or we had a couple versions of it. But I watch videos, and I try to say certain things going, I don't know if this video is accurate. I don't know if it's depicting the thing that they're saying it. Like, all right, let's unpack these things. Whenever we're watching or consuming, let's do it in an appropriate way, responsible way, an honest way, accurate way, all those things. Yeah, I appreciate the community. He says made people feel less lonely, helping lots of lonely people find a community. Oh, that's Scott Adams. Let me just scroll through what people are saying about Scott. Owen Gregorian. Yeah, he's been helping Scott for a while. Foretold Trump's rise and diagnosed America's political sickness. Dead at 68 years old. Joel Pollack, New York Post. Joel Pollack is in the intro to the Agree to Disagree show, by the way. You know him. Like a lot of the... I think Cernovich was on his show the other day. He's in my intro. You know him. There's a lot of thinkers tend to... Hang on. Let me switch the screen. I think that thinkers tend to gravitate toward thinkers. You're in the audience because you have a inquisitive mind, an interest in trying to figure out what's happening, to know what's happening, to make smart decisions in your life. And we could all use guidance in that. 68 years young after a battle with prostate cancer. He was diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer in May of 25. It was all the way back in May, huh? He said he'd been dealing with his condition privately for some time before his public announcement. It advanced to stage 4 and spread to his bones, he was told. He talked to his radiologist and said it's all bad news. The odds of me recovering are essentially zero. He said on January 1st, I'll give you updates if that changes, but it won't. So there's no chance I'll get feeling back in my legs. I've got some ongoing heart failure, which is making it difficult to breathe sometimes during the day. The iconic artist continued. However, you should prepare yourself that January will probably be a month of transition one way or another. In hospice in his home in Northern California, only a few days. Adams became famous through Dilbert, the comic strip that poked. See, I never really read. I never really read many other than The Far Side. I wasn't really a big comic strip guy. I never really found him all that funny. Far Side had a lot of good ones. But that's what he did, the Dilbert comic strip, poking fun at corporate culture with keen insight into the absurdity, cruelty, and incompetence of management inside of large organizations. Reading about his books, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, one of the most influential and entertaining business books of recent years. In it, Adams introduces the concept of using systems rather than goals to achieve success in life. He also advised readers to accumulate skills, a talent stack, rather than traditional credentials. Just accumulate skills. 2015, Adams began commenting on politics after observing the first Republican presidential primary debate, when then candidate Donald Trump responded to a moderator's question that accused him of mistreating women by interjecting, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." Adams took notice. A trained hypnotist, Adams predicted that Trump, then a huge underdog, would win the nomination and the presidency. Adams drew ridicule for his bold claim, but he looked increasingly prescient as Trump dispensed with his opponents, the Republican establishment, and eventually Hillary Clinton. Adams used what he called the persuasion filter rather than judging whether political rhetoric was true or false. He simply evaluated it based on whether it was persuasive. What began as a simple blog post became a daily live video stream. First, on the now defunct Periscope platform, then on a variety of outlets, including anti-cancel culture Rumble, in which he had invested. Adams began each show brewing fresh coffee. He eventually called his live stream Coffee with Scott Adams. And it became required viewing or listening for millions of fans who poured their own mugs and tuned in at 10 a.m. Eastern Time for the simultaneous sip. While he excelled at explaining Trump's tactics to a growing audience of Trump-supporting fans, Adams was also interested in explaining how Democrats and the left-leaning media interpreted events, or intentionally misinterpret events, to twist and spin events. He explained that the country was often watching two movies on one screen, and argued with great empathy for his opponents that voters who felt genuinely frightened by Trump's ascent had been led into an emotional cul-de-sac by cynical leaders. Adams emphasized that he was not a Republican. "I'm further left than Bernie Sanders," he reminded viewers. He even endorsed Clinton in 2016 for his own safety, he said. But he drew a conservative audience that soon included Trump's own advisors. 2017, Adams published Win Bigly, Persuasion in a World Where Facts Don't Matter, in which he extrapolated the lessons of Trump's unlikely victory. He followed that with Loser Think, using his critiques of stale thinking in the media to teach positive mental habits. During the coronavirus pandemic, Adams added an evening swaddle in which he wrapped himself in a flannel blanket and offered advice for surviving lockdowns. One of his ideas was a concept he called the user interface for reality. Given that we only see reality through our own individual filters, he explained, we can choose which filter to use. Yeah, it's kind of like, do you want to find everything negative or do you want to find opportunity and stuff? Well, the wolf that wins is the one that you feed. So the Dilbert filter, for example, predicted incompetence. The Trump filter anticipated victory. By adopting filters that guide us toward success, Adams argued, we not only convince ourselves that success is possible, but bend reality toward that income, toward that outcome. Let me I was thinking about reading that sentence anyway. By adopting filters that guide us toward success, Adams argued, we not only convince ourselves that success is possible, but bend reality toward that outcome. And I have a call that I need to take. Let me play something real quick. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, January 12, 2025. And this right here, the thing that you are watching, well, it has a name and it's called the TNAM Daily Show. TNAM stands for the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. You can get stories wrong. You can share something you thought was authentic, but it turns out that was a fake, or it was a parody, or no, that's a proven hoax. And you go, oh, okay, I don't know. I thought. That's one thing. That's what we try to limit as much as possible in this great country of ours. But the reality of it is it will happen. Being intentionally lied to, however, that's something entirely different. Something entirely different. And that's what's been happening for far too long. We've been intentionally misled for far too long. That's why you found the New American Media. We've been doing this for about 15 years. If you go back and take a look, we try to do deep dives on topics that need clarification. Be it Kyle Rittenhouse or be it the lady in Minneapolis. When flashpoint stories arise, we try to break it down. Yeah, who are you? You're no expert. All right, that's cool. But I do try. I try to do the best that I can with the time constraints that I have. I try not to gain ideological definites on stories until it sort of warrants it. You know, there's a lot of stories. You have a lot to unpack. There's a lot of moving parts. Who knows? He said, I don't know. Both sides are wrong. Both sides are kind of right. You're like, I don't know. I get it from both perspectives. But when you're intentionally misled, that's something different. And that's where we've caught on to what the lying legacy media is up to, the deep state Democrat media. And that's why we started our own thing. So thank you for being here on this journey. Hit like, hit subscribe in all of the places. On today's program, we're going to talk about Iran. Is it failing? Will it be changed back to Persia? I am working on a guest who is very connected with the overthrow of Iran, I believe in 1979, and where things have gone since and where they might be going moving forward. I did listen to an interesting episode on John B. Wells' Caravan to Midnight about that topic. If it was from a couple days ago, go check out John B. Wells. I forget the lady's name, but it was a good chat because I'm like, all right, there's probably a lot I have to learn about this topic. So I'm just going to start listening. But I do know somebody who has agreed to come on the show with a lot of stories to tell about it, very strong opinions, just working on the right date and time. Also, I did put a message out to Mr. Mike Bara about Erich von Däniken, who passed away, the founder of the modern ancient aliens movement, some people would say. And while Mike is recording a long sit down for the Y Files today, so check that out, Mike Bara. Mike is one of the co-hosts of Strictly Football. We have Strictly Football it looks like we're doing Tuesday at 3 p.m. Tuesday, 3 p.m. So looking at tomorrow, we're going to kind of just give you an overview of what happened in the NFL, just because I don't want to be super serious and sad or angry or frustrated all the time. It's current events and politics. We can cover the current events. Current events are neutral. Obviously, if you have a rooting interest in the games, there's no such thing as neutral, but you get my point. So we're going to talk about that. But yeah, there's the connection, because I did send Mike a text. Hey, do you want to tell me an Erich von Däniken story? And I said, maybe I will. I said, let me see if Mike can jump on. and he said he's doing the Y files today. So I just sent him a follow up. Hey, let's maybe do a standalone agree to disagree show. I've got a lot of questions. Mike delves into a lot of the topics on Toxically Masculine Tuesday, his Tuesday night show. But yeah, from these Venezuelan sound devices and robots, AI, Space Force, drones, all these tech things. Mike has a background in that, so I know he delves into it. So, but yeah, Erich von Däniken has passed away. I had the very interesting evening of meeting him. I'll tell you that story in a moment. But yeah, just truly a legend in the ancient aliens field. And if you just look back at all the holy books, the religious texts, the writings on the wall, the hieroglyphics, whatever, just look around each continent. You see a lot of similarities between some of the stories that have. And there you have it, talking about some of the stuff from yesterday's program. Oh, I guess that one toggled off, didn't it? Okay. We are seeing if we can do Strictly Football at 2 p.m. in 20 minutes. It's been a long day. Yeah, Scott was kind of referred. Did I finish the Scott Adams? I don't think I finished it. I think the call came in. Let me finish reading this, and then I'll wrap the show with this anyway. I don't feel like getting into the rest of the news. I'll do that later. Follow us on X for all the Iran stuff, maybe a revolution and what's behind that. ICE in Minneapolis and Greenland and Mexico and Venezuela and the Grand Conspiracy. Charlie Kirk, Dan Bongino. All of it. No, not Strictly in Defeat. That's somebody's OnlyFans account. That's not mine. No, Strictly Football. Strictly Football. No, not Strictly Foot and Mouth. Sometimes I feel that way. No, Lake Leon. It wasn't like that. It was just a phone call for a follow-up on January 13th that I needed to take. Sometimes you don't know when those calls come and you got to go, nope, I'm dropping what I'm doing. I cannot miss this conversation. So let me finish reading Scott Adams' obituary as written here. Share this tab instead. Okay. The Dilbert filter, for example, predicted incompetence. The Trump filter anticipated victory. By adopting filters that guide us towards success, Adams argued, we not only convince ourselves that success is possible, but bend reality toward that outcome. Outcome looking like we have 3 out of the 4 people ready to go at 2 p.m. for Strictly Football. So let's keep chugging along here. But that's a huge point. There are 2 wolves inside of us, one of success, one with failure. Which one wins? The one that you feed. Democrats are constantly pushing division and negativity and excuses and complaining. And the right's like, come on, let's go. Figure it out. Let's go. We want success for everyone. Come on. Let's go. All right. Let me continue. This is just a heck of a day. While generally pro-Trump, Adams was critical of the president on occasion and also took unexpected political stances. When then San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick began taking a knee for the national anthem in support of the fledgling Black Lives Matter. Wow. You know, I often have to. Question of the day. Let me shake everybody up here at the bar. Question of the day, everybody at the bar. I want your answer. What is it like hanging out with my brain? What is this experience of watching the TNAM Daily Show or the Agree to Disagree show? What is it like? I have thoughts on that, but I don't want to say anything until I can read some of your question of the day. And specifically, the way that I think about stories, the way that I unpack things, the way that I conduct the show, how would you describe it? How do you make like what? Because what I was trying to think there was a whole separate line of conversation, a whole parallel dimension of where the show was going to go had I gone on that path. And I couldn't because I got to finish this up, and I might have a timeline, but now I might have a third timeline. And we're juggling chainsaws, bowling pins, and apples. Don't forget to take a few bites. And we're juggling. And yeah, there's things that ideas that pop into my head that I want to discuss with you, and I don't. And even occasionally, I'll take you down a path and I forget where we were going. It's not necessarily due to a lack of mental acuity. It's just there's a lot going on. I don't know how to describe to people what is actually happening. So I'm kind of curious, what is the experience like to you as the listener? Question of the day, like a trip I can't escape. Oh, speaking of trips, did you hear my... I want to show this with you. Show this to you. RFK Jr. gave condolences to Bob Weir of Grateful Dead. What a long, strange trip it's been. All right, let me share this with you. It reminded me of the Grateful Dead. I put this out, but I didn't really tell anyone I was putting this out. Like a trip I can't escape. Shut up, Kenneth. I'm just kidding. It's funny. No, Kenneth and I, we have the same Simpsons humor. We crack jokes all the time. But here, I didn't tell anyone that I put this out. I'm curious if anybody watched this. You brought up like a trip I can't escape, and it reminded me. So now we're on a different parallel timeline. This show is a bit of an interactive show, by the way. I think you figured that out. There's some shows that you get on and they talk at you. Maybe that's a function of, well, it could be a function of several different things. But I love playing ping pong with the audience. I love playing beer pong. Or, I don't know, what games do people play at a bar? Never really been at a bar that has games you play, but you get my point. Like a trip I can't escape. Here's RFK Jr. Here's RFK Jr. offering condolences to Bob Weir of Grateful Dead. Oh, hi, Bobby Kennedy Jr. here. I just wanted to express my condolences to the family of Bob Weir of Grateful Dead. Jamie, pull up that image of my ex post from earlier. I said this. I said, rest in peace, Bob Weir. Thank you for all your years of support in the environment wars, and thank you for your friendship. Fare thee well now. Let your life proceed by its own design. Nothing to tell now. Let the words be yours. I'm done with mine. Hey, did you know that in 1978, the Grateful Dead played at the foot of the Great Pyramids? Jamie, can you pull up the image of the pyramid thing I did a couple days ago? Right here, it shows the real new food pyramid. We ask you to just eat real food. Turns out there's a rumor that maybe 3,000 years ago, honey from the pyramids was found and it's still edible. We're going to have our best people looking in to determine if it could go into the new food pyramid. From one Bobby to another. Maha out. I just sort of decided I'm just gonna let it rip. I feel like I should do a Bobby Kennedy address to the nation every day, a 60-second. What a long, strange trip it has been. Your Brian, your show is like a trip I can't escape. Marion, question of the day. I enjoy your brain, Brian. Thank you. Your show has just run really well. Thank you. That's very kind to say. Being the engineer, the producer, the on-air talent, the you're that Mickey Mouse where or is it Bugs Bunny? It's probably been done on several occasions, different animations, but I think it was Bugs Bunny, where he's the pitcher and he throws the ball, then he runs and hits the ball, then he runs and he catches it in the outfield, then he throws the ball to home plate, where he throws himself out, tagging up from third to home as catcher. And you're like, what? What's happening? Like, how is this happening? If you think the show is run well, and David, you've been coming here for a while now. You don't accidentally become a regular. By the way, to any of the regulars out there, if you want a mug for regulars, we have the New American Media mugs. Shoot me a Venmo. Oh, let me put that at the bottom of the screen. I didn't put that up once today. Shoot me a Venmo at Brian Engelman with your address, and I will mail you a mug for the New American Media. There we go. But if you say the show is run well, man, I appreciate that. That's pretty cool. Thank you. Kenneth says, your brain runs at high speed, dude. But you do want the greater good, and God knows that. That's as nice a thing I could read as your show is just run really well. Different analysis, but like, thank you. And I need to find that clip of John McAfee. I recall telling him that, if there's a God and we have to meet them someday, I want to be able to look my maker in the eye and say that I tried. And I think that's what Scott Adams just got to experience, whatever that is. If there is something, he just got a chance to experience that and say, I tried. Yeah, could anyone be more successful in life? Find me someone that couldn't. But are we trying? Are we trying to leave things better than we found them? Yeah, my brain does run at high speed, and I talk over people sometimes. I interject. There's a lot of thoughts with the ADHD mind that sometimes you feel like I have to say this or else I'm going to lose my thought on it. And there's other times where you're just like, you're getting in monologue mode and you could go. I've learned that I can talk for an hour to myself. I can talk for a while to myself, of course, with you, but yeah. Yeah, this show, there's a lot of tangents and there's a lot of, but I find it interesting. And I think you find it interesting too, which is cool. Marion says, I watched that this morning, the Upside Down Pyramids. Awesome. I don't know. I just want to do Bobby Kennedy. I've had a couple of people come up to me and I cracked Jimmy. Did you ever see me? Let me see if I can share this to you. Where's the search? I don't know if I've shared this with you or not. Look at this. I cracked this guy up. Kenneth, you said I like an interactive show. My goal is to make you laugh. I appreciate that, Kenneth. I do appreciate that. My goal is to make you laugh. Well, that was my goal when I met Jimmy Dore. We filmed Jimmy Dore spitting on Alex Jones at the 2016 Republican convention, Blake specifically. It's still our most popular video. But look at that. Like that was a fun moment. There we go. Maybe it'll work that way. Yep. Your goal is to make me laugh. Jimmy Dore showed up to the comedy club to make people laugh. And since he told a Bobby Kennedy story, I gave him my Bobby Kennedy voice. And the lady I get, it might be his wife or his producer. I think it's his wife. She snapped a picture, but instead of a picture, standing there, she snapped several because I went up there and did my Bobby Kennedy back, thanking Jimmy Dore for telling my Bobby Kennedy Jr. story about how he was asked to attend a dinner and do a fundraising thing and help the campaign in some way. And so I went up there and I'm like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Oh, if this falls flat, it's going to be tough. And so I did it. And on the sentence one, he was kind of like, he was kind of like, what are you doing? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Bobby Kennedy. But then I continued a little bit and I dug a little deep to thank him for telling the story about the fundraising dinner. And he burst out laughing, as you can see here. Like that right there. You made somebody you made a professional comic laugh. That was all right. That felt all right. That felt good. It's like, got him. Gotcha. It's life's little moments, right? All right. Oh, what a day, people. Strictly Football, checking to see if 2 p.m. is good. That's 5 minutes away. Let me tear through the rest of this, and I'm going to wrap this show up, people. Hey, that's a good thought. God will say, I enjoyed your laughter. Yeah, it all goes on God's TiVo, exactly. It'll all be on your permanent record. Yeah, I need a few laughs today because you don't start every day with tears, and that hit me, man. While generally pro-Trump, Adams was critical of the president on occasion, also took unexpected political stances when then San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick began taking a knee for the national anthem in support of the fledgling Black Lives Matter BLM protest. He even offered advice to leaders within BLM, notably New York's Hawk Newsom. In 2023, he was accused of racism when he commented on a Rasmussen poll in which only 53% of Black respondents agreed with this statement: it's okay to be white. In 2023, Scott Adams said 47% of people do not agree that it's okay to be white. Adams quipped that it would be good to move away from people who felt that degree of hostility. He immediately found himself canceled. His comic strip dropped. His publishing contracts terminated. He began self-publishing his books, including Reframe Your Brain, the user interface for happiness and success. He relaunched an edgier version of Dilbert on the Independent Locals platform and felt liberated to express his more controversial political views, such as that the 2020 election had likely been rigged, given the increasingly evident corruption of nearly every other government system. In the last weeks of his life, he posted on X asking readers to share personal stories about how they had been affected by his teachings and podcasts. Adams shared intimate and often painful details on his life, losing a stepson to fentanyl overdose in 2018, suffering through a second divorce in 2022, and fighting cancer. He also embraced Christianity in his final days. While he would not divulge details about his faith, he confirmed his conversion in a final message that Shelley read on Tuesday's live stream. He reframed death as he had reframed life. Just one more filter and not one to fear. Scott Adams. There he is with President Trump. Oh. Words from President Trump. Sadly, the great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it wasn't fashionable to do so. He bravely fought a long battle against a terrible disease. My condolences go out to his family and all of his many friends and listeners. He will be truly missed. God bless you, Scott. How to fail at almost everything and still win big. Scott Adams, rest in peace. On that note, I'm going to wrap today's show because I think we're trying to do 2 p.m. strictly football. So stay tuned. We might be a couple minutes late, but I think we're going to try to knock this out. Thank you for being here on this difficult day. We'll get back into the news later, but if you want to see the stories we found relevant, make sure you're following our Instagram feed. Make sure that you're following, that's the New American Media. Follow it on Instagram. Make sure you're following X at American_media_. Once again, Rumble Rants and Super Chats, tip jars are out there, as well as Patreon subscription services if you'd like to support the program. I'll be back on the other side. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody.